Hello and welcome to the Postcast Podcast. My name is Caitlin, although sometimes I will sign my name as Cheese online. This is my second year doing the year ahead forecasts. I usually record the whole year all at once, but since I'm in a bit of a time crunch, we're just going to do January for today. I do talk fast because people are less likely to watch the longer videos when you're not a big deal, so I try to crunch everything in as quickly as I can. I do the closed captions, and as requested, I will do a transcript as well, unless I can't figure it out on YouTube. I will also start timestamping to make it quicker to access what you're looking for. Just a few things I wanted to mention before I dive in. I write these forecasts before I listen to any other astrologers' interpretations in order to see how closely I can authentically get to predicting the astrological weather. January 2023's predictions were written up until December 3rd, 2022, and the rest of the year was written up until December 17th, 2022. The initial goal of the podcast was to review each month on video. Since this is just a little channel, I haven't been doing that due to the amount of time it would take, but if you follow me along on Instagram at cates.perspective, that's CAITS.PERSPECTIVE, or on facebook.com/catesastrologyperspective, you can watch this as I track news stories and how it corresponds to my predictions. Maybe if this podcast takes off a bit more, one day I could do a Patreon or something like that would allow me to continue to work on postcast videos and dedicate more time to astrological research in general, but for now we're just forecasting in the videos. In terms of my background and how I've learned about astrology, I pretty much chalk everything I know up to the astrology podcast by Chris Brennan and many of the books that have been suggested on there as well. I practice astrology using the tropical zodiac, and I use the whole sign house system. Many of the default astrology apps or sites will use Placidus. So if you're trying to follow along with your chart, just change the house system from Placidus to whole signs if you're comfortable with that. I use Eastern Standard Time up until October. I ordered my Honeycomb Collective for the dates October 2022 to September 2023 accidentally instead of January to December 2023. So after September, I use Greenwich time. All of this is mundane astrology, which means I'm not talking to one zodiac sign unless specified. Mundane astrology deals with how the transits in the sky affect worldwide events. Not just your life, not just America, if that's where you're watching from, but how it would translate to the world. Although most of the time I will mirror the astrology with a story that is more localized only because as a regular person it's just easier to see and notice. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I am only human, which means that it is absolutely impossible to disregard confirmation bias, although I know a lot of astrologers try and do that. I recognize that I could be seeing this all through my own lens, though I do try to be as objective as I can. In addition to that, we all have personal biases, whether we want to or not. I do try very hard to step out of my own shoes to see what other people could see as good or bad, although I won't get it right all the time. And sometimes I'll just call myself out in my own predictions, and some things in astrology that I mentioned will not be mind-blowing, like wildfires out west in the summer. I understand and recognize that you don't need astrology to tell you about climate change. I just write down whatever I am interpreting and state it anyway so that I can look back and make more sense of everything later. And lastly, I want to put a disclaimer out there. I am not a psychic. I do not know with any certainty what will end up happening. Astrology to me is like reading hieroglyphics or reading a map. It's like having the ingredients to a recipe, but not actually knowing what you will be making or whether it will turn out successful or not. I would take what I say with a grain of salt because if I got astrology perfectly accurate, I should be loaded. I am always okay with getting things wrong because this is how I learn. Astrology is a lifelong study and honestly so much more complex than my human brain will ever understand. So yes, things will be incorrect. However, in the spirit of curiosity and truth-seeking, I think the only way to see if there is any merit to this is to continually learn through trial and error, which is exactly why I started this podcast in the first place. You'll notice I have somewhat funny phrasing for most of my predictions. I start with some keywords and then I take a shot at bringing these keywords into context that could manifest in the world as we know it. There are many different keywords for the planets, signs, and houses, so I just kind of take one keyword from each and run with it, which leaves plenty of room for error since I am not stating every possibility. As you study astrology more and more, you will understand why I might have different keywords for the same planet in two different transits. Sometimes you just have to try to take a stab at it. Now that I got all that out of the way, let's dive into January 2023. Sunday, January 1st, Venus in Capricorn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. Good transformation or unification of government, major corporations, societal structures, institutions, etc. I don't expect it to be major as Venus conjoins Pluto every year. However, this will be the last time Venus and Pluto will conjoin in Capricorn for our lifetimes. Venus's significations are something good, being brought together, aesthetically pleasing, charming, beautiful, magnetic, etc. Pluto signifies transformation, power, intensity, blowing things out of proportion, or diminishing something important. Pluto in Capricorn would indicate more of an overhaul in institutions, and so I don't think this topic is new. I expect this topic to be something that has been changing over time and perhaps now being finalized. If the Capricorn trait is to reflect a company, I wouldn't see that as good, like a monopoly. But government forces coming together could unite for good. So this transit could also be about a good transformation of power in an institution that brings something together. I know Fauci is stepping down at the end of December, and a lot of people haven't been happy with him, so maybe this change is long overdue, but has been coming, and this is the good transformation of power we are seeing. But also maybe a new country gets accepted into NATO. Even though I typically don't see this transit as major, maybe with Pluto at the end of Capricorn, it would be. It could be related to something changing since at the earliest, the very end of 2009. From my research, the first Venus-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn was December 28th, 29th, 2009. So really, we could safely say 2010. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It could be something that is agreed upon in Congress or in the Senate with bipartisan support that transforms something in government. It could deal with the people winning against the vaccine mandates, against the government. I say that only based on researching news at the end of 2009 with Venus-Pluto themes in Capricorn that would make sense to see today. See the New York Post archive, December 28th, 2009. Also for this day, then, I'm going to do like a rising sign for one day throughout the month. So for this one, Virgo rising, excellent, intense, sexy time. On the bad side, it could be obsessive. On the great side, have fun. Monday, January 2nd, Mercury retrograde in Capricorn sextiles Neptune and Pisces at 22 degrees 53 minutes. Venus moves from Capricorn into Aquarius until January 27th. So reflect on the Venusian themes in Capricorn since December 9th, 2022 until today. Reassessing, redoing, reevaluating, revisiting, something dealing with communication or travel in an institution will work together with something instinctively needed by culture or that creatively comes out of the collective consciousness, and unification or good things in institutions are not as prevalent now. Instead, the unification, beautiful highlights, shifts to great ideas for thinking outside of the box, for bringing people together, especially for something dealing with large groups of women. Whenever I think of institutions and Neptune and Pisces, I keep thinking of Meta. Throw communication in there and it definitely seems to make sense to me. Maybe Meta finds a way to make their platform more applicable in other areas and broader topics. It could also deal with the government being more open to psychedelics. Or, always my personal hope, it could be the government reviewing what is being discussed or released about UFOs and culture and collective consciousness. For Aries rising, a discussion being reviewed at work works with your sense of being alone. Maybe you've been injured and need some time off from work or get some medical insurance. A large group of people, like an organization or friends, will help you out through these next few weeks. Wednesday, January 4th, Venus in Aquarius sextiles Jupiter in Aries. Large groups of people come together militarily for the greater good. Who knows what 2023 will bring, but based on current events, writing this part as of December 3rd, 2022, I think we know what I mean in terms of Russia or China, topics like that. For this date also, Taurus rising, good things at work flows with good things and being alone. Definitely a shot at some remote work right now, or if you got injured at work, maybe you get workers' comp and it pays for everything. Whatever it is, it's the best of a rough scenario dealing with your 12th house. Thursday, January 5th, the Sun in Capricorn trines Uranus retrograde in Taurus. Writing this on December 3rd, 2022, I would put nearly all of my chips on the focus on government institutions. Works perfectly with reviewing the sudden change in money, i.e. the fallout of the FTX scandal. What will happen governmentally? For Gemini rising, focus on shared assets works in sync with the sudden shakeup in injuries or being alone, etc. Maybe you just updated your insurance and now you're really happy you did. Friday, January 6th, we have full moon in Cancer, manifestation of emotional or intuitive feelings that deals with caring for people. Homebody time for Aries rising, maybe? For Cancer rising, you might be feeling very emotional, but I feel like it's either a good cry or just having a feeling of being so happy and content with your family that you feel it. Saturday, January 7th, Mercury retrograde in Capricorn is conjunct the Sun in Capricorn. Major review about what went wrong institutionally, although some of the details that are obvious haven't been looked at yet. Maybe FTX. For Leo rising, you're focused on your subordinates at work, your day job, your health, your pets, or your daily routines, and have been rethinking how you organize your day. The solution to the havoc will soon come, just probably not today. The solution to this is probably the most obvious answer. Sunday, January 8th, Mercury retrograde in Capricorn trines Uranus retrograde in Taurus. Major change in regulations with crypto, or at least the discussion of something to be changed majorly dealing with that. Perhaps a surprise in the whole FTX scandal? The topics likely won't be new since both planets are retrograde, and so they are readdressing topics that have already come up. However, there could be a sudden change in what comes out during the process of reviewing the information. Libra rising, rediscussing things about home, family, heritage, tradition, or a parent is in sync with reviewing the sudden change in shared assets. Crossing your I's and dotting your T's with a will? Looks like you've got it covered. Monday, January 9th, Venus in Aquarius trines Mars retrograde in Gemini. Love, agreement, cohesion of technology that affects large groups of people works together with reassessing or reviewing, etc., potentially harmful action and communication. Is something settled in social media that would be better for the people? For Scorpio rising, good things that bring the family together or something good at home works out with reviewing an aggressive conversation about what is shared amongst the family. If you're getting divorced, splitting the assets is a volatile conversation, but you'll win on the family home front. Thursday, January 12th, Mars stations direct in Gemini at 8 degrees 8 minutes, and the moon moves into Libra. Clarification or moving forwards on communication starts to cover Mars' shadow period today. The emotional aspect is about balance and justice. I don't typically comment on the moon other than full moons, new moons, or eclipses, but whenever something notable happens that day and the moon does something as well, I do try and take notice. Angry conversations start to lead to resolving based on what people feel is just or fair. It's a tough one because people have so many different opinions in the free speech realm on social media these days. Whatever the topic, it will likely be something dealing with anger and communication that came about between September 3rd to October 30th, 2022, and was being revisited from October 30th until today. I do wonder if it has anything to do with FBI whistleblower Steve Friend, which I just learned about him as I was writing this, and I searched the news archives for topics dealing with angry communication, which fit a description of what I would expect between the above dates and with Mars. So the main takeaway in terms of dates for Mars stationing direct would be to recognize that Mars entered its shadow on September 3rd, 2022 at 7 degrees 43 minutes Gemini. Typically, from the shadow period until the day the planet goes retrograde would be highlighting the topic during this time period that corresponds with the Mars and Gemini traits in your personal chart. So whatever happened that you recognize as having traits of Mars in whichever house Gemini is for you, that would be the topic. This topic would have been highlighted from September 3rd, 2022 until October 30th, 2022, when Mars went retrograde at 25 degrees 37 minutes in Gemini. From October 30th, 2022 until January 12th, 2023, while Mars was retrograde, expect to see redundancies on reviewing of this topic in some way. Mars is all about action, but the retrograde time period can be like trying to run with untied shoelaces. Slow it down, review, and figure out how to make this process move smoother. Tie your shoes. The retrogrades are there to help you breathe and learn a bit if done constructively. From January 12th, 2023 until March 16th, 2023, this topic should be getting resolved. On March 16th, 2023, Mars will cover its shadow period at 25 degrees 37 minutes Gemini. Consider March 16th, 2023 the bookend to September 3rd, 2022. We'll come back to that in March. Sagittarius rising, if some argument happened with your significant other or business partner between September 3rd to October 30th, 2022, then from October 30th until January 12th, perhaps you've been dredging through the issue with them and not seeming to get anywhere, just annoyed at each other. Well, it should start to lighten up a bit after today. The partner will still be hot-headed for a bit, but I don't think they'll be rehashing the same issues again. At least not for now. Hopefully they lay it to rest. Friday, January 13th, the Sun in Capricorn sextiles Neptune in Pisces. The focus or highlight on governments or institutions flows with something creative, intuitive, leaky, illusory to the mass consciousness. Neptune in Pisces is always difficult to see manifest, but I could see this being a day that some government documents are leaked, likely intentionally. If not about government, it could be focused on institutions, works with unrealistic reality, perhaps some laws dealing with the metaverse, or laws about psychedelics. For Capricorn rising, it's a good day to go get lost for a bit. Go for a walk and keep on going. Or maybe you and your sibling are in sync today. Did they know you were going to call them? Saturday, January 14th, Venus in Aquarius squares Uranus retrograde in Taurus. Good, beautiful, cohesive things dealing with outside of the box thinking, large groups of people or women, humanity, technology, is at a turning point with reviewing or reassessing, etc., sudden changes in things that keep us secure and stable. Taurus deals with materials, supply chain, shelter, food, money, things that make us feel secure. Everything you need to literally exist, which in today's day and age does also include money for the most part. Finding a way to use technology for the good in order to work with reviewing the sudden changes in things that keep destabilizing us. Does something stabilize in crypto? Aquarius rising, if something sudden and unexpected happens at home or with your family, it will likely be beneficial for you. Or maybe you've got the wits to get what you were hoping for. Sunday, January 15th, 1 week until Uranus goes direct in Taurus at 14 degrees 56 56 minutes. So after the last 3 years of seeing a significant volcano or earthquake go off in Asia right around when Uranus goes direct in Taurus, I'm willing to bet that it will happen again in the next 2 weeks, somewhere between this day and about January 29th. 2020 was the Philippines volcano, 2021 was a significant Indonesian earthquake, and 2022 was the Tonga volcano. Sudden explosive energy in an earth sign. Wednesday, January 18th, Mercury stations direct in Capricorn at 8 degrees 9 minutes. The Sun in Capricorn is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn at 28 degrees 14 minutes. What has happened that deals with communication or travel with institutions or structures from December 12th, 2022, when Mercury entered its shadow period, until December 30th, 2022, when Mercury went retrograde, and which was reviewed from December 30th, 2022 until January 18th, 2023, when Mercury stationed direct, will begin to resolve itself from now until February 7th, 2023, when Mercury covers its shadow period. Focus on shady power moves and institutions is hiding in plain sight. It's important to read between the lines right now because the powers that be will not come out and tell you the truth. Lots of focus on institutions right now. These dates follow the same sorts of path as Mars in terms of identifying the topic between a certain time frame, the readdressing of it, and the smoothing out of the topic. Although instead of rage or action or energetically getting something done, which was Mars, it will be about communication, smoothing out what you said and correcting misunderstandings, since this transit is about Mercury. Pisces rising, if there has been miscommunication with your friends or a large group, it should start making more sense now. Is someone throwing you a surprise party? Oops. Friday, January 20th, the Sun moves from Capricorn into Aquarius until February 18th. Reflect on the Capricorn-themed highlights since December 21st, 2022 until today and how you can make sense of it. Whereas the focus and highlights have been in institutions, it will now shift towards the masses of the people, greater society, creative solutions, and focusing on humanity at large for the next month. Saturday, January 21st, new moon in Aquarius. New ideas being suggested dealing with technology, large groups, outside-the-box thinking, humanity. It's a great time to begin something a little crazy, especially if you think it will be beneficial to society. With the moon on emotions and the sun on directing the flashlight, expect the Aquarian themes to be obvious. Sunday, January 22nd, Venus in Aquarius is conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, and Uranus stations direct at 14 degrees 56 minutes. Cohesion, love, beauty, aesthetic of the masses, large groups of technology, outside-the-box thinking is highlighted with a discipline, restriction, or limitation of the masses. It might feel like earning something deserved through hard work. Interesting because Venus bonds things together while Saturn builds walls and boundaries. It could be like guidelines most people agree on for navigating real news versus fake news. If you have a night chart, this reflects the best things and the worst of things. Not to beat a dead horse, but the last time Venus and Saturn got together was when Will Smith, who has a night chart, both won his Oscar for Best Actor and also put a huge tarnish on his career by slapping Chris Rock. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Also, with Uranus, sudden change in security or earthly things like earthquakes or volcanoes. It could be security items, but I'm betting on a physical eruption of some sort. I don't think this will be the manifestation, so warning, but the analogy I have coming up with this is something like 9/11, only because there was a sudden shakeup in security followed by unification of the country, followed by stricter laws being put in place for safety. This is only an analogy, and I am not ringing the bells for another 9/11, but if this analogy can make sense of what ends up happening, it could be helpful. I'm kind of ringing the alarms on the earthquake, volcano though, but who knows how it will actually manifest. I'm reading astrology, I'm not psychic. I find it much more challenging to see the topic, the reviewing, and the resolution with outer planets because every year they tread some of the same path. However, for educational and retrospective purposes, Uranus entered its shadow on May 7th, 2022 at 14 degrees 54 minutes Taurus. It went retrograde on August 25th, 2022 at 18 degrees 55 minutes Taurus, which means the topic highlighted would be from May 7th to August 25th of 2022. It would have been restabilized or reassessed about how to prevent the sudden shakeup from August 25th, 2022 until January 22nd, 2023. And from January 22nd, 2023 until May 10th, 2023, it should theoretically be resolved when Uranus gets to 18 degrees 54 minutes in Taurus. I say theoretically because I still struggle to see the outer planets and the retrogrades and the shadow periods and all of it makes sense. So I just mention it for educational purposes from what I've read. Tuesday, January 24th, the Sun in Aquarius sextile Jupiter in Aries. Focus highlights on large groups, outside-the-box thinking, humanity works with expansion, justice, something helpful in war, sports, athletics, or something fiery and very energetic. There's a potential for a turning point in the Russia-Ukraine war for good, although this transit, Sun sextile Jupiter, does happen every year, so it isn't exactly special. It could also be about Iran and treating the masses of people better and getting some justice. In a not so great sense, though I tend to lean positively with a good aspect in Jupiter included, it could indicate something like a draft. Focus on large groups of people that works together with expansion of war. On a better or more general note, it could just be something like focus on humanity works with justice in war. Thursday, January 26th, Venus moves from Aquarius into Pisces until February 20th. Reflect on the Venusian themes in Aquarius since January 2nd, 2023 until today, highlighting the beauty, cohesion, love, aesthetics, and large groups of people, outside the box thinking, technology, humanity shifts the loving qualities over to something good, dealing with a shift in the collective consciousness or culture. I think Pisces, which always confuses me, relates more to Neptune than Jupiter, even though they are both co-rulers of Pisces. Neptune is a lens you see through for better or worse. It distorts what you see. Pisces deals with dreaminess, creativity, higher consciousness, meditativeness, transcendence, seeing things through a different lens, psychedelics. I'm always hoping for aliens, UAPs, or UFOs. It is sometimes referred to as the full collection of the zodiac since it is the last sign. It's like it has the traits of all of them combined, which can be overwhelming. A shift from good outside-the-box thinking of groups of people to good moves towards greater consciousness of some sort. With Venus here, the distortion could be helpful, like glasses. So perhaps before, when Venus was in Aquarius, there was a good technological advance that will benefit society at large. And now we will see something more like empathy towards each other being highlighted more for the next few weeks. Sunday, January 29th. This is 1 week after Uranus went direct. Did a significant earthquake or volcano happen in Asia since January 15th? The Sun in Aquarius trines Mars in Gemini, and Mercury in Capricorn trines Uranus in Taurus. Focus on large groups of people, humanity, outside-the-box thinking, technology, works in sync with action or severing in anger and communication. Traveler communication about institutions works in sync with sudden or unexpected or abrupt changes, or technological, in things dealing with security or earthly matters. A perfect storm to piss us all off. Focus on technology works in sync with severing communication. Communication about institutions works in sync with sudden change in what is stable. Does the Live Nation, Ticketmaster monopoly dismantle? Or is there more of a movement for it? Or does an institute suddenly change things that seemed like the grounded rules, which now pisses off the masses, to something destroy the satellite for the Ukrainians to get internet? So to sum up January, lots of Capricorn and Aquarius action, which leads me towards the general theme of government versus the people. Saturn rules both of those signs, so I expect some sense of structure, whether societally, institutionally, or both. Also, I absolutely believe we will see another notable earthquake or volcano go off in January, most likely in Asia. If I'm wrong, I just go back to the drawing board. So thanks for checking out my predictions for January 2023. Do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at kates.perspective, KAITS.PERSPECTIVE, and facebook.com/Kate's Astrology Perspective to follow along with me as I review the news cycles and how it corresponded with my predictions for the true Postcast podcast experience. Cool, I'm done. That's a lot of words.
Yeah.